Hey guys, welcome to the channel. This is the second part of What If Issei Was Half Dragon and Half Fallen Angel. Before I start, please do support for more awesome content and subscribe my channel and like the video, and also share this video with your friends. Let's start the video. As Riser appeared, the air in the room grew dense as the members of the orc were glaring at him. Issei, in the other hand, stood there confused at what was happening. Riser has come for his bride. Rias dear, won't you come with me back to the underworld? Said Riser. She actually said yes to this guy. He seems like a douche, thought Issei. For the last time, Riser, I will not marry you. Said Rias. At this statement, Issei looked at Grafia and arched an eyebrow as to ask her what's going on. I believe introductions are in order. Issei-sama, this is Riser Phoenix-sama, heir to the house of Phoenix. He is also in an arranged marriage with Ojo-sama, hence he's Rias-sama's fiancé, explained Grafia. So an arranged marriage, that explains why the mood in the room changed when he showed up, thought Issei. Rias darling, who is this low-born devil? Is he your servant? Asked Riser. Low-born. Watch who you call low-born, you Yakitori, replied Issei. Everyone in the orc giggled at his comment. No one disrespects Riser that way, you low-born filth, yelled out Riser. Issei then looks at Rias. Hey Bucho, why does this ass hat keep talking in third person? Asked Issei. Rias couldn't contain her laughter at the question and started laughing out loud. That's it, you damn low-born, I will teach you how to respect your superiors, yelled Riser as a ball of fire formed in his hand. Issei grew serious and in a flash he was in front of Riser and delivered a punch to the stomach that made Riser cough up blood and sent him flying into the wall that created a crater. After he hit the wall, Issei felt ice take over the lower half of his body and looked towards Grafia, who had a magic circle in her hand and her eye were glowing blue. Issei-sama, Riser-sama, that's enough. I have been sent here to keep the peace in this meeting and I will do so by any means necessary in the name of Seersex Lucifer, she said. Issei only looked at her, snapped his fingers, and in an instant the ice along with the magic circle shattered. Grafia and the other members of the orc widened their eyes in shock on how easily he dispelled her magic. What was that? He only snapped his fingers and dispelled my magic. Not even Seersex is able to do that, thought Grafia. Issei turned toward Grafia and bowed. My apologies, Grafia-san. Yakitori over there threatened me and I only hit him as a means to defend myself, he said. Very well, Lord Grimori and Seersex both had a feeling that this would happen and have proposed an alternative, a rating game to decide the future of the marriage, said Grafia. Riser stood up and laughed. A rating game with Rias would be too easy as she still hasn't completed her peerage. When Riser, on the other hand, Riser snapped his fingers and 15 girls appeared out of a magic circle, has a complete set. Issei raised his hand. Grafia-san, may I make a suggestion? Asked Issei. What is it? Asked Grafia. Let me fight instead of Rias. I'll even allow his peerage to fight alongside the Yakitori. If I win, the marriage gets annulled and Rias gets to marry whoever she wants, and if by chance he wins, not only will the marriage go through but he can also have my head. Issei then turned to look at Riser. What do you say, Yakitori? 16 versus 1 should be an easy win for you, Issei shrugged. Riser accepts. I'll even give you a handicap and allow you 10 days to train. Enjoy it while you can because it'll be the last 10 days of your pathetic life, said Riser. Grafia then turns to look at Rias, who's glaring at Issei skeptically. I will also accept, she said. Very well, I'll inform both households and Seersex-sama about this immediately, said Grafia. With that, Grafia, Riser, and his peerage all teleported out of the room, leaving only the members of the orc. Rias stood up and was angry. How can you just gamble with my life like that? She yelled. Well, someone has to put him in his place, plus I want to help, trust me, I'll free you of this. No one should have be forced into something like this, explained Issei. And how are you so sure you can beat him? Asked Rias. Well, was all he could Issei reply before another magic circle appeared, only this time it was one that Issei recognized as he smiled, and out came Seraphal Leviathan in her typical business attire. All the member of the orc except Issei started to bow. Issei, I know you're not a devil, but at least show the proper respect. Lady Leviathan, what brings you here? Asked Rias. Well, Grafia came and told Seersex-chan what happened. We just happened to be finishing up a meeting, so I came to see him, said Seraphal as she pointed towards Issei. Why Issei? Rias asked confused. See Bucho, what I was going to say before Yakitori came here is that Sarah-chan over here is now my girlfriend. Issei explained as he walked over to her and patted her on the head. Eehhhhhhhh. Yelled out everyone in the orc in unison. That's right. So babe, I heard you challenged Riser Phoenix, said Serafal. Hell yeah I did, dudes going down, replied Issei as he punched his palm. Serafal then turned to Rias. Congratulations on breaking your engagement Rias-chan, said Serafal happily. How can you be so sure he'll beat Riser? How powerful is Issei? Asked Rias. I think you should show them darling, it's okay, I trust them, said Serafal as she looked at Issei. Issei only nodded and out came his 14 fallen wings and his 4 dragon wings. So you're a fallen? Asked Rias. Well, a fallen dragon hybrid, but I'm not aligned with any of the 3 biblical factions, although currently I'm leaning towards the devils, said Issei as he smiled at Serafal. She smiled back. So how strong are you really? Asked Rias. Well, if Issei-kun and Searsex-chan were to fight at full power, there's no doubt in my mind that Issei-kun would come out on top, replied Serafal. All of the orc widened their eyes in shock at the statement. Well, I think that's all the surprise we need today, said Issei as he retracted his wings. As he said that, Grafia teleported back into the room. Issei-sama, the households have agreed and your fight with Riser-sama will be held in 10 days, said Grafia. Issei only nodded at this. Thanks you Grafia-chan, said Serafal. All Leviathan-sama Searsex-sama informed me of your relationship with Issei-sama. Congratulations, said Grafia. Serafal smiled. Thank you. With that, Grafia left. Hey honey, want to come over to my house for dinner? Asked Issei. Serafal suddenly had stars in her eyes as she looked at him. I'll take that as a yes. He then turned to the orc. I'll take my leave here guys, and Rias, don't worry, you'll be free before you know it, said Issei as they teleported to Issei's house. Rose smiled as she watched them leave Issei's house. Issei and Serafal arrived at his apartment when Serafal sensed someone really powerful and immediately stood in front of Issei in a battle stance as they both saw the figures sitting in the couch. Ah. Office ne-san, Red ni-san, what you two doing here? Said Issei. Serafal paled at the names as she recognized Office. Issei, you don't mean the Ouroboros dragon Office and the Apocalypse dragon Great Red, do you? Asked Serafal. Off right, I forgot to mention it, these are my adoptive siblings Great Red and Office, shrugged Issei only to met with a chip behind his head. Now little brother, is that any way to introduce someone, said Office. Now Office-chan, it's fine, he did live in the dimensional gap for 10 years after all, into only natural he'd forget his manners, said Great Red as he glared at Issei. Serafal stood there shocked at the information that her boyfriend's sibling are the 2 beings in existence tied at first for the strongest being in existence. Now little brother, are you going to introduce us to you friend? Asked Red. This is one of the 4 mouths that currently run the underworld, Serafal Leviathan, my girlfriend, replied Issei. Peak pleasure to meet you Great Red Sama, Office Sama, Serafal stuttered out. Now little Leviathan-chan, if you're our brother's mate then you're part of our family as well, said Red. Right, thank you Great Red Sama, she replied. Please call me Red ni-san, it's what Issei-chan calls me, said Red. So little brother, what have you been doing since you've been alone? Asked Office. Well Office ne-san, I've been going to school and I also have a fight scheduled, I'm 10 days the heir of the Phoenix clan Riser, explained Issei. How much of your power do you plan on revealing? Asked Office. I want to put him in his place and let him know not to mess with people stronger than you. I'll probably go into my balance breaker to end things quickly, he replied. Darling, you have a sacred gear? Asked Serafal curiously. Oh right, I haven't told you because I wanted to reveal it to the world during the fight to add dramatic effect, said Issei as he rubbed the back of his head. Serafal deadpanned at this as Issei continued his explanation. I am this generation's Red Dragon Emperor, he said as the red gauntlet appeared on his arm. She widened her eyes in shock at this. Pleasure to meet you Ms. Leviathan, I am Deedraig the Welsh Dragon of Domination, said Deedraig. Now Deedraig-chan, no need for the long introduction, said Red. Right, he replied. So Office ne-san, Red ni-san, would you two like to have dinner with us? Asked Issei and they both nodded. As the night went on they ate and talked about the happenings around the world and Serafal felt a part of their family. It was a warm feeling that she will always cherish. After Office and Great Red legit, it was just Issei and Serafal left alone, but it was getting late so she had to go as well. Well babe, I have to go now, it's getting pretty late. I have Mao duties all week, but I'll keep in contact with you and I'll be watching your fight with Riser, said Serafal as she walked up to Issei and gave him a kiss goodbye. Alright, I'll talk to you later then honey, he replied, and with that she teleported away. Issei looked at the clock and noticed that it was really late and he had school tomorrow. I should go to bed, thought Issei the next morning. As Issei was on the way to school, he was thinking about the events that took place the day before. Man, Didrag yesterday was a little crazy between the whole Riser thing and Office Ne-san and Red Ne-san coming to visit. It was a long day, thought Issei to Didrag. Yes indeed it was partner, but I'm happy you're finally going to use some of my power to fight Phoenix. It's been a while since you used my power, replied Didrag. Issei just nodded in agreement. Issei kept walking towards school until he passed the park and saw someone he was familiar with walking around. Asia asked Issei, Issei-san. She replied, Issei-san, what brings you here? Asked Asia. Well, I pass by her on the way to school. What brings you here? He replied. I needed to take a break from the church and decided to go for a walk. Speaking of the church, how are they treating you? Asked Issei. Well, to be honest, not so great. There are some that are rude and mean, but there is some who are somewhat nice, said Asia as she started to tear up. Issei could tell that she didn't want to be there anymore, as he thought. Maybe I should spend some time with her today to get her mind off everything. Maybe if you do, the fallen angels in the church will come looking for her, said Didrag. Don't say it like that, you're making it sound like I'm using her as bait, replied Issei. I apologize, I know you want to protect her, as do I, however this is a chance to draw them out, said Didrag. Asia only looked at Issei with a curious look because from her point of view he spaced out. Issei-san. She said. Oh sorry Asia, I spaced out, but how would you like to spend the day with me to get your mind off stuff? He asked. Oh but you were on the way to school, she replied. It's fine. I can miss a day, if you're okay with it then okay, she replied nervously. Of course. Come on, let's go, said Issei. Asia only nodded and followed him. They spent the day going to the arcade and trying different foods Asia hasn't fired before. As the day came to an end, they arrived back at the park where they ran into each other at the beginning of the day. Thank you for today Issei-san, I had a lot of fun, said Asia. It's no problem, what are friends for, he replied. Right, we're friends. Oh Issei-san, I don't want to go back to the church. I tried to be strong since I have nowhere else to go, but it's just hard being there, said Asia as she started crying. Issei looked at her with a sad expression. Hey Asia, since you don't have anywhere else to go, then how about you stay with me? Asked Issei. Asia was only able to widen her eyes at what she just got offered. No, I couldn't possibly impose like that, she said. It's no trouble at all, the only family I have are two siblings, but they randomly show up every now and then, Issei said. Then suddenly he a serious expression. I'm afraid I can't let you take her, said a mysterious voice. Issei turned around to see a fallen angel with 6 wings extended. She had long black hair and violet eyes. I see you're one of the fallen from the church, so what is it you want with Asia? Asked Issei. That is none of your business, said the fallen. Oh. But it is because she is my friend, therefore under my protection, although I can tell you're no pushover, you're no match for me, said Issei. That's some big talk coming from a human, replied the fallen. Well, that's half true, but I'm surprised you can't recognize one of your own, said Issei as he released his 14 fallen wings. The fallen angel widened her eyes in shock. The amount of wings, he's more powerful than Otu-san, I'm outclassed. She thought. Asia widened her eye at her friend and the amount of wings he had. She was told going up that amount of wings only belonged to faction leaders. Issei then looked at the fallen angel. What is your name, fallen? He asked. Rainier. She stuttered out in fear. Rainier, huh? I am Issei Hyodo, son of Goro, a human, and Azriel, a fallen angel, said Issei. Rainier widened her eyes at the second name. Her eyes started to water. Issei only looked at her, confused as to why she was crying. Without saying anything, she ran up to Issei and hugged him. Why are you hugging me? Asked Issei, confused. Because Azriel is my aunt, that means you're my cousin that we thought was dead, cried Rainier. Issei widened his eyes. He didn't know he still had any family left beside a cousin who would come over when he was about 3 years old. She was a year older than he was. He remembered she had black hair. And violet eyes. Wait. Ray? Asked Issei, so you do remember. I guess you wouldn't really remember since when I was around I was never called by my full name, said Rainier as she pulled away from the hug. Issei turned to Asia as she smiled at him as he was just reunited with his family. We have to go see my dad, he'll be happy to know you're okay, said Rainier. And the shock continues, not only did he have a cousin but an uncle as well. Of course Asia can cope as well, we have business to talk about at the location, said Rainier as a teleportation circle appeared under her. Issei looked towards Asia and nodded, then both of them stepped onto the circle and in a flash they were gone. Unknown apartment. The flash died down and Issei looked around and retracted his wings. They seemed to be in an luxurious apartment. What he also noticed was that there were multiple video games and consoles everywhere. Sorry about the mess, Otu-san can be a bit messy when he starts playing his video games. Otou-san, come here, you have company, yelled out Rainier. Out of a door came a tall man with black hair and golden blonde bangs. Geez, do you have to yell, we're in an apartment, you know, said the man. Sorry to-san, but I have someone you have to meet, she replied. Who? He asked, still not seeing Issei. With that, Rainier moves to the side and said, your nephew. The man widened his eyes in shock as tears started to fall from his eyes. He ran towards Issei and hugged him. I know you're my uncle and all, but who are you? Asked Issei. Right, I forgot your mother wanted to keep you from the supernatural, so I haven't seen you since you were 2 inches, said the man as he broke the hug and stood back and released his 12 fallen wings. My name is Azazel, Governor General of the Fallen Angels. As you know, Azrael was my sister, therefore I am your uncle. You already met Rainier, my daughter, said Azazel. Issei nodded at this. We though you had sighted when Kokobile attacked your parents also before anything. We are currently looking for him. He went rogue the day he attacked them. He didn't like the way I was running things and attacked my sister out of spite, he said angrily. Issei started to tremble in anger as he remembered that day. Because of his anger, some of his aura started sleeping through and Azazel widened his eyes in shock at how much power he was releasing. Issei then looked at Azazel and his eyes started to glow green. When I find Kokobile, he will die by my hand and mine alone, said Issei. Asia walked up to Issei and put a hand on his back and home instantly calmed down. Sorry you had to see me like that, Asia, apologized Issei. It's okay, Issei-san, I just don't want you be mad, okay? She said. Issei only nodded. Azazel turned his attention towards the blonde. Who's this, your girlfriend? He asked. Oh no, she's just my friend, my girlfriend is busy at the moment. This one's name is Asia Argento, Issei said. Azazel looked towards Rainier. Is this her? Asked Azazel. Hi Otu-san, she replied. Issei just looked at them confused as to what they were talking about. Azazel turned toward Issei. A few weeks ago I had heard that a couple of rogues were siding with Kokobile, so I sent Rainier and her friend Milta to join them and keep trans on what they were doing. Turns out part of the plan was to steal the sacred gear of Ms. Argento here, said Azazel. Issei was angry at this. Any objections to me going and eliminating the rogues? Asked Issei. None at all, but they also have rogue priests, but keep in mind that Rainier's friend Miltat is also there, replied Azazel. What does she look like, Ray? Asked Issei. She's the only blonde there and wears a gothic Lolita outfit, you'll notice her, she replied. Gothic Lolita, huh? Sounds like Office-ne-san, thought Issei as he deadpanned. Did you need help? Asked Rainier. No, it's faster if I go by myself, he replied. By the way, Issei, how strong are you? Asked Azazel. Issei only turned to him and released his 14 fallen wings and 4 dragon wings. Amazing, you're stronger than the faction leaders, said a shocked Azazel. Okay, I'm gonna go, we'll talk more about everything when I get back, said Issei as a teleportation circle appeared under Issei and he disappeared. Abandoned church. Issei appeared out of the circle and looked around. He brought his hand up, snapped his fingers and created a barrier. Maybe I should call Rias to let her know what's happening, this is her territory after all, thought Issei. That would be a wise choice, partner. Replied Diedrag. Oh Diedrag, get ready, I'm going to use your power just to finish this quickly, plus I know you've been itching for a fight, he told Diedrag. Finally. Some action. Said Diedrag. Issei took out his phone and called Rias. Oh Issei. This is a surprise, what can I do for you? Asked Rias on the other line. Thought I would let you know that I'm about to infiltrate the church and eliminate the rogue fallen angels. This is your territory after all, don't worry, I gave full permission from Azazel to do so, he replied. I guess that settles any small details. Did you need any help? She asked. Not at all, I'll see you later, Rias. Alright then, have fun, she replied before hanging up the phone. Well, that settles that, thought Issei. Issei walked up to the door and punched it open only to arch an eyebrow to see there was no one there. The fuck? Where is everyone? Thought Issei. Then he noticed a figure come out of the shadows. Oh. A shitty devil coming to a church. How fun, said the man. The name's Fried Selzen, said Fried. Yeah, I don't care, you seem like a creep, said Issei as he formed a sword of light in his hand. In a flash of speed, Issei stabbed Fried in the stomach and kicked him away as Fried coughed up blood. Well, that was fast, said Issei. Partner, I'm sensing multiple signatures downstairs, said Diedrag. Issei only nodded and headed downstairs. As he got to the bottom of the stairs, he was met by 100 rogue priests and 3 fallen angels who were standing on a stage. I apologize in advance, I'm not feeling merciful today. Also, you must be Miltet, said Issei while pointing at Blonde. You're coming with me. Who the hell are you? Yelled out a fallen angel with a fedora hat on. Then Issei released his fallen wings. The 3 fallen stared and trembled in fear as they knew they were outclassed. Your superior, since I want to go home, I'm going to finish this quick balance break, said Issei. Welsh dragon balance breaker, roared out Diedrag. He's also the Red Dragon Emperor. Thought all 3 fallen. Issei lifted his hand up and snapped his fingers, and in less than a second hundreds of small light spears appeared around the room. Perish, said Issei coldly as he snapped again and the spears started to rain down on the priests. Only the sounds of screaming, bones breaking, and flesh being torn can be heard as the 3 fallen trembled in fear at what they were witnessing. In a flash, Issei was front of the fallen with the fedora, jammed his hand into his chest and tore out his heart. The other 2 backed up in fear. Issei summoned a light spear in his hand and in less than a second he stabbed it through the other fallen with blue hair and both dropped dead. Well, that's that, said Issei as he deactivated his balance breaker and turned toward Miltet. Relax, you have nothing to worry about, I'm here to get you out because you're a friend of my cousin Rainier, said Issei as a teleportation circle appeared underneath him. At the mention of Rainier, Miltet instantly calmed down and nodded, joining Issei on the magic circle. Oh, and before we go, I would really appreciate it if you would not tell Rainier or Azazel about me being the Red Dragon Emperor. I want to keep it secret for now to add dramatic effect later on, said Issei. She only nodded. With that, they teleported back to Azazel's apartment where Issei and Asia just decided to spend the night since it was really late. It was the morning after the church incident. Issei, Asia, Rainier, and Azazel were sitting at the table at Azazel's apartment. Miltet had decided to head back to the Grigori after everything. They had been eating in silence till Azazel decided to break it. Issei, I forgot to ask you last night, you've been missing for the past 10 years. Are you aligned to any faction? Asked Azazel. Currently, no, but I'm leaning more towards the Devil's Aid considering my girlfriend is a devil, replied Issei. Right, you did mention that you had a girlfriend. Is it one of the heiresses here in town? No, if not then who? Asked Azazel as he arched an eyebrow. It's Seraphal Leviathan, replied Issei as he shrugged. En Nani. Yelled out Azazel, you mean to tell me that your girlfriend is one of the 4 devil kings? The strongest women in the underworld? He asked. Yup. That would be her, Issei replied as he rubbed the back of his head. My boy. I'm so proud. Yelled out Azazel. Rainier only rolled her eyes at her father's response as she collected the plates. Well, Uncle and Ray, it's been nice, but we should get going. Still have to go ask Sons to enroll Asia into Kuo Academy, said Issei. Azazel got up and have Issei a hug. If you need anything at all, just ask your family after all, said Azazel. Issei only nodded as a magic circle appeared under him and Asia. Rainier waved goodbye as they teleported away to find Sona. Student Council office. Sona was at her desk filling out some paperwork when a magic circle paper in the middle of the room as she went into high alert. What the hell? Thought Sona as Issei and Asia appeared. Hyodo-kun, there had better be a good reason why you missed school yesterday and majority of today, said Sona angrily. Sona, we're practically family now, you can just call me Eyes, he said. Sona blushed at this. Yes, while I am aware of your relationship with my sister, we are not family yet. Anyways, is there anything you need, Issei-kun? Asked Sona. Right, I was wondering if you can fill out some paperwork to transfer my friend Asia here into the school as she will be staying with me from today forward, said Issei as he mentioned for Asia to introduce herself. Hello, my name is Asia Argento, said Asia. Hello, I am Sona Citri, however in school I go by the alias Sauna Shatori, said Sona. Totally not that great of an alias, but at least she tried, unlike a certain redhead, thought Issei. I assume you would want her in your class as well? Asked Sona. Yes, that would be great, he replied. Very well, come by tomorrow for her schedule. I'll have my familiar drop off her uniform at your house sometime later today. Sounds good, said Issei as another magic circle appeared underneath him and Asia. I appreciate the help. So tan, smiles Issei as he and Asia left, leaving Sona in the office alone, blushing furiously. Issei's apartment, as the light from the circle died down, Asia looked around. Well, Asia, welcome to your new home. There's 2 spare rooms, choose one and we'll go get some necessities for you tomorrow, alright? Said Issei. Hi, said Asia as she started to tear up and hugged Issei. Asia, what's wrong? He asked. Well, it's just that no one has ever been so nice to me before and now I finally have a real home, thank you Issei-san. Said Asia as she cried. Issei hugged her back. Hey, it's alright, from now on you can think of me as a big brother and now you have a family. I know our 2 sibling will accept you but they kinda just randomly show up, explained Issei. Big brother. Then I'll call you Issei-ni from now on. Said Asia happily. Right, said Issei as he nodded. The rest of the day was spent watching TV and sleeping. Time skipped to the day before the battle. It was after school and Rias had called Issei and Asia to the orc. I wonder what she wants to talk about, thought Issei. Well, your fight with the Phoenixes tomorrow, she probably wants to discuss that, replied Didrag. Yeah, you're probably right, he replied. Issei-ni. Are you okay? Asked Asia. Oh yeah, I'm okay, sorry I've been spacing out, he replied. They arrived at the orc to find everyone inside. Issei walked up to Kiba standing by the window. Hey Kiba, what's up man? Asked Issei. Issei-kun, how are you today? Good, just dealing with another boring day. During the time he has been at the school, he and Kiba have become good friends. Issei-kun and Asia-san, thanks for coming, said Rias. Sure thing Rias, so what's up? Asked Issei. Well, it's about your fight with Riser tomorrow. Are you sure you're ready? I don't mean to doubt you, but this is my life we're talking about here, you know. She asked. Believe me when I say this, Rias, he's going to regret accepting the challenge, plus I got a reveal planned during the match, said Issei. Did you train at all? Asked Rias. Nope. Not at all, don't need it with the yakitori, but if you count my little event at the church at the beginning of the week as training, then yes. He replied while rubbing the back of his head. Rias looked at him curiously. You also mentioned a big reveal, care to share what that is? She asked. If I told you, it wouldn't be much of a reveal now, would it? He replied. No, I suppose you're right. Now if you'd excuse us, I'm going to go home and rest for tomorrow, said Issei. With that they said their goodbyes and went home. Later that night, as Issei was laying down on his bed, he started to have a conversation with Didrag. Is something troubling you, partner? Asked Didrag. Just nervous, tomorrow the Red Dragon Emperor makes himself known, it's a lot to take in, you know. We've been a secret for the last 10 years, he replied. I understand, but now is the time to make ourselves known again. You're more than powerful enough to protect those around you, and if the White One shows up, he'll have no chance. You're the strongest host I've ever had. Issei just nodded and fell asleep. Tomorrow was going to be an interesting day. The next day, everyone was gathered in the orc room when Grafia appeared. Issei-sama, are you ready? Asked Grafia. Yes, I am, he replied. Very well, let's go, she said as a magic circle appeared all around the room and everyone in the room besides Grafia and himself are gone. Where did everyone go? And why are we still in the orc? Asked Issei. Since they are not fighting, they have been teleported to a viewer box, and if you look outside you'll notice that we are no longer in the same dimension. Riser-sama decided to give you a handicap and use the school as the bait grounds for this match, explained Grafia. Issei deadpanned at the explanation. Is this guy really that stupid? Thought Issei. I must go now, as well as I am the announcer for this match. I just stayed behind to explain what was happening, she said as she teleported away. Hello my name is Grafia Lucifuge, Queen of Searsex Lucifer, and referee for this battle of Riser Phoenix-sama and his peerage versus Issei Hyodo-sama, said Grafia over the intercom. Each team has 30 minutes to prepare. I will signal when the time is up. I really just wanted to get this over with fast and easy, but oh well, thought Issei. 30 minutes later, time is up now, let the battle begin. said Grafia through the intercom as a buzzer went off. Issei got off the couch and went outside and looked around. Oi Yakitori, just hurry the hell up and get your peerage out here, I have a date later. SND would rather not spend more time than I have to hear, yelled out Issei. Up in the viewer box, what is this boy doing? Asked Lord Phoenix. I'm not too sure myself, to be honest. He must have a plan, said Searsex. He's got a death wish if he believes he can defeat my son by himself, said Lord Phoenix. Then Searsex leans towards Serafal. How powerful is this boy really? Asked Searsex. Riser is just lucky he can't actually die, she replied. She hasn't told them of how powerful he truly was or who his siblings were. But what she was excited for was that date they were going on after the match. Back with Issei, as he yelled, 10 figures came out of the shadows. Judging by their power signatures, these are his pawns and his rooks, thought Issei. So seeing as how we're about to battle, I would like to at least know your names before I defeat you all, said Issei. We will defeat you for Riser-sama, but fine, you may have our names. I am Shueilin, Riser-sama's rook, said the girl wearing a traditional Chinese outfit and had 2 buns in her hair. Isabella Rook, LLE, and I'm Nelwar Pawns, Ni Pawn. Li Pawn as well, Marian Pawn, Barent Pawn, Sharia Pawn. Mira Pawn. Issei nodded at the introductions. Issei Hyodo, the guy about to defeat your master, said Issei. There's no way you can defeat Riser-sama, said Shueilin. See, I'll let you in on a secret one I've been hiding from the world for the last 10 years now, he replied. Oh. And what is that? She replied. I am this generation's Red Dragon Emperor. Since I want to end this quickly, I won't be holding back as much as I normally do. Prepare yourselves. Balance break. Welsh Dragon Balance Breaker, viewer box. Everyone in the viewer box had their eyes widen in shock. We'll all except Serafal, since she already knew. He's the Red Dragon Emperor. Thought Rias. What has Riser gotten himself into, said Lord Phoenix. Searsex looked at Serafal. Did you know about this? He asked. Of course, he is my boyfriend after all, she replied. How strong is he exactly? Asked Searsex. Strong enough to take you on in your true form and win, she replied. Searsex was shocked. It was a good thing that he was a friend and not an enemy. Back on the battlefield, Riser's peerage started to shake and back up in fear at the power they were witnessing. If they're scared now, I can only imagine what it would be like if I went into angelic overdrive, thought Issei. I am pretty sure they would either pass out or die. You do realize you release a vast amount of power when you enter the angelic overdrive, replied Ddrake. Alright, let's get this over with, said Issei, and in a flash of speed he was gone. Where'd he go? Yelled out Shueilin until she saw a green light at her side. Riser-sama 1 rook retires, said Grafia. Then more flashes. Riser-sama 2 pawns retire. What's going on? He's moving so fast he's picking us off one by one, thought Shueilin. Riser-sama 4 pawns retire. What? She yelled out. All that were left were Mira, Marian, and Shueilin. Issei stopped moving so they could see him. Please surrender, I don't want to hurt you if I don't have to, said Issei. All 3 girls looked at each other, realizing they stood no chance. They nodded. We retire, all 3 said in unison. Riser-sama 1 rook and 2 pawns retire. With that, Issei continued. In the middle of the field he had run into his 2 knights. Poor girls didn't stand a chance. Now he was in front of Riser, his 2 bishops and his queen. Alright Yakitori, I've got a date today, so how about you just fight me yourself so we can end this, said Issei. You pathetic little lowlife, you think you can defeat me? Ha, don't make me laugh. Even if you are the Red Dragon Emperor, you cannot defeat the immortal, replied Riser. Let's find out, shall we? And with a snap of his fingers he made 2 light spears appear and take out his queen and a bishop. Riser-sama queen and 1 bishop retired. What the hell, you're a fallen. Riser yelled. I guess now's as good a time as any, thought Issei as he revealed his 14 fallen wings. I am Issei Hyodo, son of Garo, a human, and the fallen angel Azrael, sister of Azazel, but due to circumstances, said Issei as he now released his 4 dragon wings, I had to give up my humanity to survive, and now I'm a fallen dragon hybrid. Viewer box. Everyone besides the orc and Serafal were shocked at the amount of wings he had. Searsex turned to Serafal. Did you know who his family was? He asked. No, he never really talked about his parents too much, she replied, but our relationship can also be the start towards peace, she continued. Battlefield, alright, let's end this, said Issei as he appeared suddenly in front of Riser and hit him in the stomach so hard he threw up blood. Issei then formed a sword of light in his hand and held it to Riser's neck. Surrender or die, your regeneration is still weak against light, this will kill you, said Issei. Riser looked at him with fear in his eyes. He knew then and there that he had messed with the wrong person. Shaking in fear, he managed to say, I surrender. Surrender is acknowledged. Riser-sama retires. Winner is Issei Hyodo-sama. Issei powered down his balance breaker as the other bishop came up to him. I am Ravel Phoenix, thank you for sparing my brother Issei Hyodo-sama, said Ravel as she bowed. Please just Issei is fine, he replied. Alright, well then I'll be off, said Ravel as she teleported away with a small blush on her face. Rias and the orc then teleported in. Oh Issei, thank you. Thank you, said Rias as she hugged him. It's really no problem Rias, he replied. Oh but you deserve a reward, she said as she started to lean in trying to kiss him until they heard a voice in the distance. No, yelled out Seraphal as she appeared in front of them with an angry pout on her face. I know you're happy Rias-chan, but he is my boyfriend, she said. Rias backed off, not wanting to anger her anymore. Alright, my apologies. So Issei, see you at club tomorrow? She asked. Of course, he replied. With that the orc teleported away. Issei then looked at Seraphal. So let's go on that date babe, he said. Of course darling, she replied. Let's just take Asia home first and we'll be off. She nodded and all three went back to Issei's apart. Time skipped to later that night after the date. Well, I should go, I have a busy day tomorrow, said Seraphal. You know you're more than welcome to spend the night here, replied Issei. I know, but the life of a Mao is very busy, I'll text you later, okay? She said. Okay, but before you go there's something important I need to tell you, he said. What's that? She said curiously. Issei was smiling at the face she was making. I love you, he said. Seraphal eyes widened in shock until her eyes started to tear up as she hugged him. Many men were afraid of her and some just wanted to be with her for her power in the underworld. But he didn't care about any of that since he was stronger than she was. She never really knew what love felt like until now. I love you too, she replied. With that their lips met for a passionate kiss. After about 2 minutes they pulled apart. I have to go now, but I will text you later my love, Seraphal said. Okay babe, he replied. They kiss again and she teleported away. Well, today was an eventful day, he thought. He turned around to go to his room to sleep for school in the morning until another magic circle appeared in the middle of the room and Azazel appeared. Issei, we need to talk, said Azazel. Uncle Azazel, not that I'm not happy to see you, but it's pretty late, what's going on? He replied. We have a lead on Kokobile, he replied. Issei then looked at his uncle with a serious expression on his face. Tell me everything you know. Issei looked at Azazel with a serious expression. He had just told him that they had a lead on Kokobile. Where is he? Asked Issei. We don't exactly know, but some reliable sources have gave us a lead, Azazel explained. Which is? There were some rumors that got confirmed. Rumors are that some fragments of Excalibur have been stolen from the church. And what does that have to do with Kokobile? I have known him for eons. He's a war mongrel that fully never got over the fact that I pulled out of the war first. My logical guess is that he may be trying to start another war, and my best guess he may be coming here. Why here? Think about who lives in Kuo. 2 little sister to 2 devil kings. If anything would start a war, it'd be the death of those 2, but as far as why he stole the Excaliburs, I don't know. I can't let him hurt Sona. Seraphal would definitely start another war, thought Issei. Question uncle. If you know all of this, why don't we just go kill the bastard before he get here? With the both of us it'll be too easy, asked Issei. If it was that simple I would, but there's not enough evidence that points to him specifically. To execute him without proper evidence would cause a uproar in the Grigori even if he is rogue, explained Azazel. Issei just looked at him and nodded, understanding his reason. Then what's the plan? Asked Issei. To be honest, the best plan is to wait till he comes here and get him to admit that he's trying to start a war with witnesses around, and I would personally throw him in an isolated prison till the end of time, but I am not going to deny your right to your revenge, replied Azazel. Issei only nodded. By the way, I have reached out to my brother Michael and he says the church plans to send 2 exorcists to Juice to retrieve the Excaliburs. I just need you to do me a solid and help them out. Whether or not you want the devils in on it is up to you. Said Azazel as a magic circle appeared underneath him. I have another uncle. Asked Issei. Well, 3 more uncles and an aunt, you know, we angels before we fell, your mother and I, he replied. With that, Azazel disappeared, leaving Issei alone in his living room. Issei was smiling at the fact that he has more family than he thought until he looked at the time. Oh, shit. Tomorrow's gonna suck, he said aloud as he ran upstairs to sleep. The next day, Issei and Asia were on the way to school when Issei couldn't stop yawning. Issei, are you okay? Asked Asia. Yeah, Asia, just tired. Azazel came by after Sarafal left and our conversation dragged on, so I didn't get much sleep, he replied. Is everything okay? She asked. Yeah, Asia, it's nothing you need to be concerned about. Okay, if you say so, she said as she smiled at him. They were almost at the gate to the academy when Didrag spoke to Issei through the mental link. Partner, I sense 2 people with holy energy around them that just go into town, said Didrag. That must be the exorcist that Uncle Azazel was talking about, but to be honest, I didn't expect them to be here the next day. Yes, it would seem so. I should let Rias and Sona know immediately, he replied. Issei took out his phone and sent a text to both Rias and Sona. Need to speak to both of you about something urgent. Is it possible to meet at the student council office right now? Issei texted. Okay, that's fine, replied Sona. Very well, I'll head over there now, replied Rias. Issei just put his phone in his pocket and looked at Asia. Hey Asia, you go on ahead to class 1, have to go talk to Rias and Sona really quick about something, said Issei. Okay then Issei, I'll see you in class, said Asia, and she waved goodbye. Student council office. Issei arrived at the door of the student council office and knocked. Come in, said Sona from the other side. Issei walked in to find Rias already there. Oh. Good, Rias, you're here already, said Issei. So what's so urgent? Asked Rias. Last night Uncle came by my apartment and told me some interesting news. He has a lead on the rogue fallen that killed my parents, explained Issei. Sona and Rias looked at each other, then Sona looked back at Issei. Well, Issei-kun, not to sound rude, but how exactly does this involve us? Asked Sona. Well, what he also mentioned was that some fragments of Excalibur were stolen from the church. He has reason to believe that the same fallen is the one who stole them and will soon be coming here to Kuo, explained Issei. Rias and Sona widened their eyes at the news of the major threat in their territory. Okay, that is a problem, said Sona. That is not all so Tan, he replied. Stop calling me that, yelled out Sona. Issei just laughed along with Rias. Sorry, it's funny to see your reaction, but back to business. He had heard from Michael that the church plans to send 2 exorcists to retrieve said fragments, and my guess is they will more than likely have their own fragments, he explained. That seems logical, said Sona, but what is it the fallen wants? Asked Rise. Well, Uncle guessed that he is probably trying to spark up another war, he replied. Well, this is a very serious matter. Did you want to inform my sister or should I? Asked Sona. No, I'll do it, but when the exorcist arrived to the school, which they will, considering the church is aware that this town is ran by devils, they will most likely want to speak to Rias since she is in charge, he explained. Both girls just nodded their heads. Well, that's all, let know when you hear word from the exorcist. I would like to be present, said Issei as he left. Will do, replied Rias. Well, Didrag, looks like our revenge will soon happen, thought Issei. Indeed, partner, however, Kokobil is not one to be taken lightly. He is a cadre after all, replied Didrag. So how far should I power up? Asked Issei. Well, to be honest, your balance breaker will be enough. Worst case scenario, maybe Juggernaut Drive, but I highly doubt he'll push you far enough to use the Angelic Overdrive, said Didrag. Issei nodded as he got to class. The rest of the day was pretty boring. Time skip after school. The bell had just rung, signaling the end of the day. Issei and Asia were putting stuff away when Didrag spoke to Issei in his mind. Partner, those 2 exorcists are here at the school, said Didrag. At that moment, Issei looked out the window to see 2 figures dressed in white robes walking into the academy and running into Sona. They seemed to be talking about something, however Issei couldn't make it out, but saw that they were escorted by Sona towards the orc. As Issei and Asia started to walk out of the class, they were stopped at the door by Akino. Era, I was just about to come and get you 2, Rias requester, the both of you, said Akino. That's funny, we were just on the way there, replied Issei. Let's go together then, she said, Orc Club building. They made it to the orc and walked up the stairs, but before they made it to the door, Issei felt a familiar presence. This presence, it seems really familiar. No way, thought Issei as he ran to the door and opened it without knocking. What he saw were the orc members in their usual spots, Rias at her desk, Kaneko on one couch, and Kiba by the window, but he was glaring at the two figures sitting on the couch opposite of Kaneko. One had short blue hair with a green streak and the other had checks-it-colored hair done in pigtails. He recognized her and his eyes widened as soon as he saw her. Irina! Yelled out Issei. Issei-kun, she yelled back as she bolted off the couch and ran towards Issei and pulled him into a hug. Oh Issei-kun, I though you had died. When my family had heard about what happened, we came back to look for you, but you were gone, said Irina as she was crying. Irina, I missed you too. A lot of stuff happened, but just know I'm happy to be here with you again, he replied. I'm Issei, not to break up such a happy reunion, but mind telling me how you know this exorcist? Asked Rias. Well Rias, she is my childhood friend, that's how we know each other, he replied. Oh Issei-kun, if you're here that must mean that you're a devil now, said Irina as she teared up. Oh how fate can be so cruel. Actually I'm not a devil, he replied. At this the blue-haired one got up. So this is the childhood friend you talked about on the way here. I am Zenobia Quarta, and if you're not a devil then what are you? She asked. Well if he's not a devil then that must mean he's still human, said Irina. Actually wrong again, I'm not human either, said Issei. What? If you're not human then what are you? She asked. Well he goes nothing, thought Issei as he released all his wings. Irina and Zenobia were shocked at how many wings he had. Why you're a fallen, said Irina, and a dragon, said Zenobia. See, when I was a child my mother sealed away my fallen side in hopes that I would live a normal life. Unfortunately it didn't turn out that way and things happened to where I gave up my humanity in order to survive. I've also been training for the last 10 years to kill the fallen who killed my parents. But on the bright side it turns out I have family through my mom's side, a uncle and a cousin. However my uncle says I have 3 more uncles and an aunt I haven't met, but I also have 3 adopted siblings, 2 older and 1 younger, explained Issei. There was only silence till Irina walked up to him and hugged him. I'm sorry, that must have been a terrible life, she said. Issei just returned the hug. Zenobia just looked behind Issei to see a familiar blonde. Are you the witch Asia Argento? Asked Zenobia. Why yes, replied Asia timidly. I thought you looked familiar. Tell me, do you still believe in our God? She asked. Zenobia, of course she does. Just cause she's a heretic doesn't mean she can just give up on God so easily, said Irina. God. Seems they don't know the truth yet, thought Issei. Is this true? Asked Zenobia. Asia nodded. Then in the name of our God you will let strike you down this instant so that he may forgive you of your sins, she said. That's enough, said Issei as he started flaring his aura. The 2 girls widened their eyes in shock at what they were feeling. Asia here is my adopted little sister, therefore she is under my protection, said Issei. Also that blade you're holding, if I had to guess that's Excalibur destruction, right? Asked Issei. Correct, this is destruction, but very well then, if she's under your protection then I will back down, she replied as she put her sword down. If you won't fight him then fight me, said Kiba as they all turned to look at him. Who are you? Asked Zenobia. Your senpai, but I was considered a failure, he said. I will join as well, and if I win you will apologize to Asia, said Issei. Zenobia and Irina looked at each other and nodded. Outside the orc, Akino, please put up a barrier, said Rias. Akino only nodded in response. Now this is only a spar, so please no killing, she said. Kiba, I got Zenobia, you take Irina, said Issei. Kiba only flared at him and moved toward Irina. Zenobia took off her robes to reveal a female exorcist battle suit. Same thing with Irina, she took the Excalibur out of its wrapping. Begin. Yelled out Rias, are you not going to take out a sword? Asked Zenobia. Don't Nini's one. Trust me, with the training I've had your little toothpick won't even scratch me, replied Issei. Zenobia glared at him for the insult on the holy sword. How dare you? Yelled out Zenobia as she ran toward Issei, jumped up and brought her sword down. Her eyes widened in shock as Issei caught the sword with one bare hand. Issei started to put pressure on the sword. Surrender or I break the sword, said Issei with a serious expression. I surrender, she said. Issei let go of the sword and looked towards Kiba and Irina only to see Kiba, who was blinded by rage and swinging wild, with Irina dodging with ease. Issei got in the middle. Kiba, stop, you're done, it's your loss. I have to destroy that sword. He yelled. That's when the exorcist walked up. Wait, hating holy swords and calling himself a failure, my god, the survivor from the Holy Sword Project, said Zenobia as Irina's eyes widened. Yes, because of those swords my friends died. I would have too have they not helped me escape, glared Kiba. Just so you know, that project is a stain on the church's history and the man responsible has been excommunicated. He is also said to be working with the one who stole the swords, Zenobia explained. What is his name? He asked. Valpierre Galilei, the genocide archbishop. I now know who my target is, thank you, said Kiba as he calmed down. So who's behind all this? I have a guess but need confirmation, said Issei. The fallen angels Kokobile. She replied. Rias widened her eyes when she heard the name. What could a fallen who was mentioned in the Bible went with the swords also? Why come here? Asked Rias. Issei turned towards her. His plan is more than likely to kill you and Sona to force your siblings into starting another war, he said. Everyone's eyes widened. My question is, why would the church send only you two, knowing the one behind this is a cadre? Asked Issei. Our chances of survival were only 25%. Our orders were, if we could not defeat Kokobile, was to destroy the holy swords. We are both prepared to die for this mission, explained Irina. Although preferably I would rather not die, said Zenobia. No one is going to die. Kokobile will die by my hands, said Issei. Everyone looked at him like he was crazy. Kokobile was the one who killed my parents, said Issei. Everyone looked at him with a somber look. But to change the mood, Irina, where are you guys staying? Asked Issei. Well, we were planning on staying at the old church in town, she replied. Nah, how about you guys stay with me, Asia and I, as long as Zenobia apologizes to Asia for earlier? I don't mind, he said. With that, Zenobia nodded and walked to Asia. Asia, I apologize for what I said earlier, she said with a slight bow. Please don't worry about it, she replied. Well, I think we should call it a day here, said Issei as he turned to Rias. I'll be in touch when we hear anything. If you and Sona could also do the same, that'd be great, he said. Rias only nodded and the group of four started walking to Issei's apartment. Outside Issei's apartment, they walked towards the door when Diedreg spoke to Issei in his mind. Partner, your mate is here, said Diedreg. Oh shit, I forgot she was coming. How am I gonna explain these two? He replied. Tell the truth. I guess you're right. Issei walked up to the door and opened it. As soon as it was open, all they was. Issei, my love, I missed you, said a screaming Seraphal as she tackled Issei on the ground. The exorcist looked confused until Asia spoke. Hello Sarah, how are you today? Asked Asia. Oh Asia, hi, how was your day? She replied. Very good, but please get up, we have guest and I'm pretty sure Issei would like to breathe again. Seraphal looked down to see Issei was turning blue and immediately stood up. I'm sorry love, she said. It's alright, let's just go inside so we can talk, he replied. Everyone went into the living room and sat on the couches opposite of each town while Asia made tea. Zenobia sat with a neutral expression on her face. Irina, however, was glaring at Seraphal. Any reason you're staring at me, exorcist? Asked Seraphal. Yeah, who are you? And why are you so close to Issei-kun? She said. Why are you jealous? Smirked Seraphal as Irina got even more mad. Seraphal, be nice, said Issei. I'm sorry babe, replied Seraphal as she looked down timidly. Seraphal. As in Seraphal Leviathan, one of the four devil kings? Asked Zenobia. The one and only, replied Seraphal with a smile. Issei, what is a devil king doing at your house? Asked Irina. Well, this devil king happens to be my girlfriend. GG girlfriend, yelled out Irina. Yup. Now that we got that out of the way, Issei honey, what's going on? Asked Seraphal. One explanation about the exorcist, who they are in Kokobile later. I see that is a problem, I will have to report this, said Seraphal. Pardon me Leviathan Sama, couldn't you just stop him? Asked Zenobia. Not without starting another war, she replied. Besides, Issei here wants revenge and he will get it. If you don't mind me asking, how strong can he be? He's a fallen, sure, but Kokobile is a cadre who has years of combat experience, said Zenobia. Trust me when I say Issei is powerful enough to take on anyone. If Sears, Azazel, and Michael all fought him together, I have no doubt in my mind that Issei would come out on top, explained Serafal. Zenovia's and Irina's eyes widened. To say they were shocked was an understatement. He's the most powerful red dragon emperor the world will ever know, past, present, and future, said Serafal. You, the red dragon emperor. Both exorcists yelled out. Yeah, I am. Damn it, Serafal, why did you have to say that? I wanted to have a dramatic reveal for Irina when I fought Kokobil, and now that's ruined, said Issei. That's when the gauntlet appeared and Didrag spoke. Hello exorcist, I am the Welsh dragon Didrag, and you the childhood friend Irina, he said. Me? She asked while pointing at herself. Yes, please try to calm down. My partner, being part dragon, can smell your arousal from here but chosen not to say anything, he said. What? Yelled Serafal. I am so sorry. Yelled Irina as she ran towards the room her and Zenovia were sharing. Well, I'm going to bed as well, it is getting late, said Zenovia as she walked away. Well babe, are you going to stay here or go home? Asked Issei. I was wondering if I can stay here for tonight, love, she replied. Yeah, that's no problem, come on, let's go to bed, he said. They walked to Issei's room and slept for the night, for these next few days were going to be really interesting. Issei awoke in the morning and spoke to Didrag. So the search for Kokobil starts today, huh? Thought Issei. Indeed partner, it does. Will you be okay seeing him again? Remember, enough rage and you'll lose control and trigger Juggernaut Drive, Didrag replied. I know that's the last thing I want, no one would be able to stop me. Issei was shaken out of his thought when he felt movement on his chest. He lifted the covers to find Serafal stirring awake. Good morning beautiful, said Issei. Good morning my love, what time is it? She asked as she gave him a quick good morning kiss. Issei looked at the clock by his bed. It's 7:15, he said. I should go. I have a meeting with Sears-chan and Ajuka-chan at 8:30 and still have to go home and get ready, she said as she got up. Also, shouldn't you be getting ready for school? She asked. No. I'm not going till after this whole thing blows over. I already sent Sona a message, she said. It's understandable and she'll make up an excuse, he replied. Serafal then looked at him with a serious expression on her face. Is everything okay babe? He asked as he sat up. Listen, I know you can beat him but still be careful, okay? I don't want you getting hurt, she said as a magic circle appeared under her. Issei got up and walked to her. Don't worry, I'll be careful, he said as he kissed her. Good, I'm going now. Let me know how everything goes, okay? She replied. Sure honey, I love you, she said. I love you too, replied Issei as she disappeared. Well, I should get some breakfast, can't hunt down a crow on an empty stomach, thought Issei. Issei went downstairs to see Asia finishing making breakfast while Irina and Zenovia were sitting at the table. Good morning guys, he said as they looked at him. Good morning Issei, ni have a seat and I'll serve you some food, said Asia. Issei nodded and sat in front of the two girls. So girls, what's the plan for today? Asked Issei as Asia brought him his breakfast, which was eggs, bacon, and spam. Well, Zenovia and I were going to check out the shrines and the old church to possibly find some clues, said Irina. Why don't I just ask my uncle to see if he has any leads? Asked Issei. Uncle? Who's your uncle? Asked Zenovia. Azazel, he replied. The Governor General of the Grigori is your uncle. Yelled out both girls. Yeah, said Issei. Both girls just looked at him shocked about how easygoing he was being. Wait. Question, couldn't you just ask him to deal with Kokobil? Asked Zenovia. Nope. It would cause too much of a riot within the Grigori, he replied. They finished their breakfast and got ready to go search for the swords. They met at the front door and were about to leave when Issei spoke up. You girls go on ahead, I have to go talk to my older siblings about something, he said. Okay sure Issei, just catch up when you can, replied Irina. Will do, he replied with a smile. With that the two exorcists left and Issei turned to Asia. Stay here Asia, you'll be safe if you stay home, he said. Right Issei, need just be careful, she replied. Issei nodded as a purple magic circle appeared on his hand with an infinity symbol on it and lifted his hand towards the wall and a tear in the dimension appeared and Issei stepped through the dimensional gap. Issei appeared in the gap and looked around. Well, home sweet home, he thought. Now where are those two? Issei closed his eyes to try to pinpoint the location of his siblings. Found them, he thought as he released his fallen wings and flew towards the destination. About a 30-minute time skip, Issei arrived to an island made of just rocks and he landed at the sight of two familiar faces. Well, Office-chan, look who came, said Great Red. Office ne-san, Red ni-san, hello, said Issei as he bowed. Hello little brother, what brings you here? Asked Office. I came to inform you that I am close to fulfilling my revenge, replied Issei. Office and Great Red looked at each other and back at Issei. That's good. Finally that crow will be put down, said Great Red. How did you get a lead anyway? Asked Great Red. One explanation of the current events later, I see. Well, the only good thing about this whole thing was that you reunited with your old friend, said Great Red. Yeah, it's been a long time, I missed her, he replied. Oh. Is my little brother going to take on another mate? Said Office. N. Neeson. Yelled out Issei as he blushed a shade of red that could rival Rias's hair. Come on little bro, you know dragons tend to have more than one mate, said Great Red. That they do partner, spoke up Deedrag. See, even Deedrag-chan agrees, said Great Red. What do you mean Deedrag? Asked Issei. I have been with you your whole life and I know how you truly feel about that Irina girl, but I also know how you love the current Leviathan. Why not just talk to the Leviathan about it? Said Deedrag. Because there's a lot of things that can go wrong with that, said Issei as he deadpanned. You never know unless you try partner, said Deedrag. Well, I suppose you're right, he replied. I should get going. Office Neeson, Red Neeson, said Issei. Very well little brother, but remember don't cause too much trouble, said Office. See a little bro, tell Sarah-chan and Asia-chan we said hello, said Great Red. Will do, he replied as went back to his dimension. Issei arrived back in his dimension to find Asia watching TV. How did it go? She asked. It went well, by the way, our siblings say hi, he replied. Asia just smiled at him and he left to go find the church duo. Honestly, probably should have got their phone numbers for this, thought Issei as he closed his eyes to sense them out. Found them. They're at a cafe, he thought as he started walking. Scene change. Cafe. Issei arrived at the cafe and walked in. He eventually found the table they were at but was surprised to see Kiba and Kaneko there as well. Hey man, what's up? Said Kiba. Yo, said Kaneko. Hey guys, not that this isn't a pleasant surprise, but what are you guys doing here? Asked Issei. Rias thought it would be better if we all worked together on this so we can get rid of the enemy faster, explained Kiba. Okay, that makes sense, he replied. So what do you guys got? Asked Issei. Well, nothing, said Irina sadly. Really? Asked Issei. Yes, we have checked the church and some shrines and nothing came up, explained Zenobia. Let me try something, said Issei as he closed his eyes to try to feel for another holy presence. I found something, it's at a shrine near the park, said Issei. Let's go, said Kiba. Scene change. The shrine. They arrived at the shrine and all of them were looking around until they heard a voice coming from the shrine. Well, look what we have here, some shorty devils and some members of the church, said the voice. They all looked towards the person. Fried Selzen, said Zenobia as she took a battle stance along with Irina. He looks familiar. That's right, he was there at the church that night, thought Issei. I could have sworn I killed you, said Issei. Well, next time you should make sure I stay dead, shithead, he replied. Who is this guys? Asked Kiba as he summoned a sword and took his battle stance. His name is Fried Selzen. He at one point was one of the top exorcists but was excommunicated for overly enjoying killing, explained Zenobia. So he's a creep, said Issei. Yeah, pretty much, said Kaneko. Alright, that's enough, it's time to exorcise some shitty devils and after all have some fun with the two from the church, said Fried. Fried was about to lunge forward when they all heard a voice coming from the roof. Fried, that's enough, said the voice. They all looked up to see an elderly man in priest clothes. Boss, I was just gonna have some fun, said Fried. This is not the time nor place, we must stick to the plan, he replied. Valpierre Galilei, said Kiba with venom in his voice. Yes, that's me, who wishes to know? Replied Valpierre as he looked towards Kiba. You look familiar. I feel like I've seen you somewhere. Oh, that's right, you're the one who escaped. To see you here is truly something, he said. For my comrades you will die by my hands, said Kiba as he lunged forward. Kiba, don't, yelled out Issei. But it was too late as he lunged forward only to be stopped by Fried who was holding an Excalibur. Not so fast pretty boy, if you want to get to him you have to go through me first, said Fried. Then all of a sudden a red magic circle appeared on the ground with the Grimoire symbol. Reinforcements are here Fried, we have to go, we are outnumbered, said Valpier. Fine, see ya later fuckers, hopefully next time we fight it's to the death, said Fried as he threw a flash bomb on the ground. Once the flash died down they were gone and Rias and Akino appeared. What happened? Asked Rias. We had a run-in with Fried, Selzen and Valpier Galilei, but then your circle appeared and they escaped, explained Issei. We have to go after them, said Kiba. You're before that, let me call one more person to help, said Issei as he made a call, and in the next 30 seconds a magic circle appeared and out came Rainier. Hey Ray, thank you for helping, said Issei. No problem, she replied with a smile. Alright, here's the plan. Kiba and Zenobia you go north, Akino and Rias you go east, Rainier and Kaneko will go south, and Irina and I will go west. If anything happens we'll get in contact with each other, explained Issei. Right, everyone said in unison as they went their separate ways. With Kiba and Zenobia they had been running for what seemed like miles and finally stopped to catch their breath. How could they have gotten away so fast, said Kiba. That was always one of Fried's specialties, she replied. We have to find them, he said angrily. You know, for what it's worth I'm sorry that happened to you, she said. Kiba couldn't say anything, he just looked at her. I just wish my comrades didn't have to die, he said. By the time the church had heard what was going on it was already too late, she replied grimly. They only looked at each other. You know, she's actually really pretty, thought Kiba. Little did he know she was having a similar thought about him until they heard a deep voice coming from the sky that broke them out of their stupor. Oh, how adorable. With Rias and Akino, they were searching around every corner and alleyway and eventually reached a park. Rias, I believe we should inform your brother, said Akino. I don't want to bother him with something like this, she replied. I know you don't, but this involves a cadre and you know for a fact the only one who stands a chance is Issei, said Akino. I suppose you're right, he does have a right to know what's happening, Rias said when a magic circle appeared on Rias's ear and her eye widened in shock before the circle disappeared. We have to get to the clubhouse immediately, said Rias. What happened? Asked Akino. Zenobia and Kiba were attacked. I need to call Issei so he can meet us there, she said as she pulled out her phone and dialed. With Rainier and Kaneko they had searched some alleyways and shrines and now were going from roof to roof in search of those two who got away. Can you sense those two at all? Asked Rainier. No, I can't, it's like they just disappeared. Let's stop at the vending machine down there to get some water before we continue, said Rainier. Kaneko only nodded as they went down and Rainier bought Kaneko some water. Thanks, said Kaneko as Rainier handed her the bottle of water. It's no problem, gotta stay hydrated, right? She replied. She started to drink her water when her phone rang. Oh, it's Issei, she said as she answered the phone. With Issei and Irina they walked west looking for some kind of clue. They remained quiet until Irina broke the ice. If only we were reunited under better circumstances, she said. Unfortunately life doesn't work out that way, but what's important is that we're together now, he replied as he smiled at her. Listen Issei, about last night, what Diedrag said. What about it? Is it true, were you able to smell that? She asked. Yeah. It comes with the whole being part dragon thing, why do you ask? He asked. Well look, I know you're with Serafal-sama, but Issei is all she could say when Issei's phone rang. It's Rias, he said as he answered the phone. Hey Rias, did you find anything? He asked. He went quiet for a second before calling Rainier. Hey, did you find anything? Asked Rainier on the other line. Kiba and Zenobia were attacked. I need you to go to my house and get Asia and meet us at the Orc to heal those two. She can tell you how to get there, she know where it is, he explained. Right, she replied as she hung up the phone. With that Issei and Irina headed to the Orc building. Orc building. Issei and Irina arrived at the Orc building and went through the door. What happened? Said Issei. We were attacked by Kokobile, said Kiba as he winced in pain. We only barely managed to escape. As that was said, a magic circle appeared in the room and out came Rainier and Asia. Good Asia, you're here, can you please heal these two? Asked Issei. Hi Issei ni, she replied as she walked towards the two and started to heal them. Issei, who attacked them? Rainier asked. It was Kokobile, replied Issei with venom in his voice. So that means he's here, she replied. Don't worry Ray, remember I'm going to kill him and strong enough to do so, he replied. Still I should inform my father. Issei only nodded and saw that Zenobia and Kiba were back up to speed. Thank you Asia, said Kiba. You have my thanks, said Zenobia. It's no problem at all, she replied with a smile. All of a sudden a barrier went up around the school and a magic circle appeared around Rias's ear and she grew a serious expression. What happened Rias? Asked Issei. Kokobile. He's here. So he's here, said Issei with an angry expression, and the barrier who created it? He asked. Sona and her peerage to keep Kokobile from harming the rest of the town, replied Rias. Alright then, he said as he turned towards Rainier. Ray please go inform uncle of Kokobile's appearance since he has a grudge against Azazel, he'll aim to kill you first and I can't allow that. Rainier only nodded and attempted to teleport away and found out she couldn't. What the hell? I can't teleport, she said. Sona specializes in barriers, she most likely made it so no one can go in or out without her knowing, explained Rias. Okay well. New plan Ray, go to Sona, tell her you need to get out of the barrier. Go when we go outside, said Issei. Rainier only nodded as Issei looked towards Asia. Asia, I need you to go with Sona and her peerage and help with the barrier. When you get there tell her to tell her sister what's happening, said Issei. Hi Issei ni, she replied. Rias, are you going to contact Searzex? He asked. Rias only stayed silent when Akino spoke up. I already have, the Akino. Why? Yelled out Rias. Look Rias, I know we talked about it but we are out time so I did it. We are dealing with a leader class fallen, he has to know, said Akino. Rias only stayed silent. Alright well that answers that, said Issei. Okay we're going out so we can handle this. Before we go I don't know what tricks he has but I will not let any of you die today, he said with a serious expression as everyone looked at him with a smile. Let's go. Outside in courtyard, everyone goes outside to the courtyard to see Kokobile sitting on a throne on a small little island in the air while Valpier and Fried are on the ground. Valpier seemed to be doing some magic on the Excaliburs. Well the crow thinks highly of himself, thought Issei. Partner, I sense Albion outside the barrier, said Diedrag in Issei's mind. So the white one makes an appearance. I wonder why he's here. Probably came to see how strong his rival is, that poor son of a bitch. Indeed he has no chance against us. Issei just nodded as he looked up at Kokobile. Ka-san. Tu-san, this is for you, thought Issei. Well, the ruined Princess Rias Grimoire, what a nice shade of red your hair is. It's almost as disgusting as your prick of a brother, said Kokobile. Fallen angel Kadri Kokobile, it's a pleasure to meet someone mentioned in the Bible, she replied. So who's coming to stop me? Searzex. Or perhaps Seraphal? He asked. Neither today you will die by me hands, said Issei as he glared at Kokobile. And who are you little boy to think you could possibly have any chance of killing me? Asked Kokobile as he released his 10 wings. Issei smirked knowing Kokobile had no chance. I am the son of a human and a fallen that you murdered years ago, said Issei as he released his 14 wings. I am the son of Gorou and Azreal Hyodo. My name is Issei Hyodo and I am the one who shall put an end to your story Kokabiel, for I am this generation's Red Dragon Emperor, yelled out Issei. Balance break. Welsh Dragon Balance Breaker, roared out Diedrag. Kokobile widened his eyes, so the brat survived. But how did he get so strong? Thought Kokobile. He grew a serious expression, he knew he was going to have to fight seriously. It seems I'm going to have to fight seriously then, said Kokobile as he snapped his fingers and Cerberus came out through a magic circle. Rias's eyes widened. See Cerberus. It's forbidden to take him out of the underworld, she said. Issei looked at the group. Ray, Asia, you know what to do, he said. Both just nodded and ran towards Sona, Rias, Akino, and Kaneko take out the mutt. They also nodded. Zenobia, Irina, and Kiba, I'll let you guys take the other two, they nodded as they ran towards Valpier and Fried. Issei saw that the groups left and flew up towards Kokobile. Well, spawn of Azrael, let's see how strong you've gotten, said Kokobile as he got in a battle stance. Very well then, let's begin, replied Issei. With Rainier and Asia. The two reached the end of the barrier and Sona saw them. Asia, why did you come over here? Asked Sona. Issei ni told me to assist you guys on the barrier, she replied. Very well, we could use the help. And you are? Asked Sona as she looked towards Rainier. My name is Rainier, Issei's cousin. He asked me to inform my dad of what's happening, she replied. Who's your father? She asked. Azazel. Sona's eyes widened slightly. Very well, pass on through, she said as she opened a spot big enough for the two to pass through. They pass through and Asia looks at Sona. Issei ni also sends a message, she said. What is it? To tell your Oni-sama what is happening. Sona nodded as she made a call to her sister, and within the minute Serafal appeared. Have they started fighting yet? Asked Serafal. Two of the groups have, but Issei ha, said Rainier as she was interrupted by a huge surge of power. I have to go inform Tu-san about this, said Rainier as she teleported away. Oni-sama, could you please help with the barrier as well? Issei-kun is putting a lot of power out and it's getting hard to keep this up, said Sona. Of course, Sona, she replied. Sona is somewhat surprised that her sister didn't call her by her usual nickname but by her actually name. Serafal helped with the barrier and turned to the battlefield and saw the exorcist with looks of disbelief. Issei, my love, be careful, thought Serafal. With Rias, Akino, and Kaneko. We have to put this boy down quick so we can assist everyone, said Rias as Jean's Akino were attacking the Cerberus with magic while Kaneko was attempting to get close. Akino, give Kaneko an opening if you would, said Rias. Right, she replied as she flew up, raised her hand, and a yellow magic circle appeared in the sky and lightning came down and hit the Cerberus, causing it to fall on its side. Kaneko saw the opening and took it as she ran to the Cerberus and punched it as hard as she could so she could cause some real damage and sent the Cerberus towards Rias and stopped right in front of her. She decided to end this and conjured up a biggest sphere of the power of destruction she could make and shot it at the Cerberus at point-blank range and flew up when the explosion happened. Akino and Kaneko flew next to her and when the smoke settled they saw the Cerberus was gone. Let's go help Kiba, said Rias and the other two nodded as they flew towards Kiba. With Kiba, Irina, and Xenovia they arrived to where Valpier and Fried were. Well, if it isn't the pretty boy devil and the two from the church, said Fried. Fried Selzen and Valpier Galilei, we will stop you, said Xenovia. Give it your bet shot, girly. Once Valpier over there finishes merging the Excaliburs together you won't be able to stop me, said Fried as he took out a holy sword. You girls take Fried, I'll go after Valpier, said Kiba. Right, both of them replied as the two ran towards Fried and Kiba ran towards Valpier only to be stopped by a barrier. You really think I'd be down here without any protection? Ha, said Valpier. Valpier Galilei, in the name of my fallen comrades you will die today, said Kiba. Ah. The only survived. The irony how I get excommunicated because of the Holy Sword project yet the church still uses my work. Those hypocrites, said Valpier. What do you mean? Asked Kiba as he glared at him. It turns out the sacrifices of your friends were the key essence is what was needed for someone to be able to wield an Excalibur and we crystallized it. Although nowadays there are safer ways to collect the essence but I happen to have the one from that night on me, he said as he pulled out a blue crystal from his pocket and tosses it to Kiba. Here, keep it, I'll give you one last goodbye to your friends before you die, said Valpier. Kiba caught the crystal. My friends, he said with a broken voice. He was suddenly filled with the voices and presence of his fallen friends and he knew what to do. Balance break, sword of betrayer. Said Kiba as a sword with both holy and demonic elements appeared in his hand. What's this? Yelled out Valpier. This is the sword of betrayer, a holy demonic sword, my balance breaker, said Kiba. A holy demonic sword. That should be impossible, they're complete opposites unless. Valpier didn't finish his sentence as a light spear penetrated his heart and fell down dead before he could finish merging the Excaliburs. Everyone just looked in shock until they heard Kokobile speak. With Issei and Kokobile and Issei looked at each other in the air with both their wings out till Issei decided to make the first move as he flew towards Kokobile. Before Kokobile could react, Issei delivered a punch to his stomach causing Kokobile to cough out blood. In combination, Issei spun around and roundhouse kicked Kokobile in the face, sending him flying until he stopped himself. Looks like I was right, I am going to have to take you seriously, said Kokobile while wiping the blood away from his mouth. At least make this a decent fight, replied Issei. You are a fool, as powerful as you are I have years of experience on you boy, said Kokobile as he formed a sword of light in his hand. Kokubeel flew towards Issei swinging at him while Issei was dodging. He formed a sword of his own as the two got into a sword fight. Kokubeel had the advantage in the fight due to the experience as he kicked Issei in the face and sent him flying back. Alright, enough playing around, said Issei as his armor was regenerating thanks to Dedrag. The two flew at each other and threw punches while also creating light spears to kill one another. In the end of the scrabble, Issei was stabbed in the leg by a light spear as he flew back to get a little distance. Haha, looks like you're still weak, little boy, said Kokubeel as he charged up a huge light spear. No, replied Issei as he brought his hand up and snapped his fingers and the light spear disappeared. I'm just not taking you seriously yet. Kokubeel just looked at him with a scowl until he heard Valpier talking. He formed a light spear and killed the man before he could finish the sentence. Valpier Galilei, as useful as you were, you weren't supposed to figure that out, said Kokubeel. Issei looked down to see the orc and the church duo in front of them. What was he about to say? Yelled out Kiba. Well, since I am trying to start a war and all, I guess I'll let you in on one of the darkest secrets in the supernatural world, he said. No. Thought Issei. Kokabiel, stop, yelled out Issei. Darkest secret. What's going on? Asked Rias. Well, Grimory, since you asked, I'll tell you. In the last great war, not only did the 4 devil kings die, but God did as well, said Kokubeel. Everyone widened their eyes in shock. It can't be God is dead? Asked Irina as her and Zenobia fell to their knees with looks of disbelief. Irina, thought Issei. Now angry, Issei formed a spear of light and killed Freed. Damn it, Kokubeel, why did you have to do that? Asked Issei. Judging by your reaction, I take it you already knew, he replied. At that moment, Issei felt another big power show up outside the barrier. I take it since Serafal is already here that's Searsex, thought Issei. Come now, Red Dragon, let's finish so I can send you with your weakling of a father and hooer of a mother, said Kokubeel as he laughed. Issei just shook in rage as he looked towards the group. Rias, get Zenobia and Irina out of here. I want you all to help with the barrier. Your brother and Grafia just shower up as well. Please ask them to assist as well. I'm going to kill this bastard here and now. I was going to hold back quite a bit, but after what he just said, I decided to go full power. If any of you stay, you'll die, said Issei. Rias only nodded as her and Kiba grabbed the church duo and left towards Sona. Issei waited until they were outside the barrier to continue. Office ne sama. Red ni sama, I'm sorry you told me not to go all out unless necessary, but this bastard deserves it, thought Issei. Who is about to awaken outside the barrier. Things were getting intense when a magic circle appeared and Searsex and Grafia showed up. What's happening? Asked Searsex. Rias and her peerage have defeated most of the enemies. The only one left is Kokubeel and Issei is fighting him, explained Serafal. I should go in there and help, said Searsex when Rias and her peerage carrying the church duo came to the barrier. Sona saw this and opened it enough to let them through. Rias, what happened? Asked Searsex while looking at the duo who still had looks of disbelief on their faces. Kokubeel revealed something that he shouldn't have, she replied. Where's Issei? Asked Serafal. He's in there, he asked us to help with the barrier. Brother, he wants you and Grafia to help as well, said Rias. Us? Why? Asked Searsex. Because he's not going to hold back against the crow, and if the barrier isn't powerful enough you'll all die. But the crow must have pissed him off bad to want to go into the angelic overdrive, said a Voic behind them. They all turn around to see a girl in a gothic Lolita outfit and a guy dressed in casual clothing with red hair. And you are? Asked Searsex. Office Sama. Great Red Sama, it's nice to see you again, said Serafal with a smile. Hello Serafal, it's good to see you in Asia-chan, said Office. Office Onisama. Red Onisama, hello, said Asia with a bow. Ah, Sarah-chan, Asia-chan, hello, said Great Red. Everyone widened their eyes in shock. Why are the two most powerful beings in existence here? Asked Searsex. We're here to watch our little brother fight this crow, replied Great Red. Little brother. Everyone yelled. Yes, little brother, said Office. Well, he mentioned he had an older brother and sister but never said who, said Rias. That's when everyone heard the eerie chant. Alright everyone, to the barrier or none of you will survive. You're about to witness the true power of the strongest red dragon emperor in history, said Office as everyone helped with the barrier. Inside with Issei, I who is about to awaken am the heavenly dragon who has returned the principles of domination to God. Kokubeel stares shocked at how much power he was releasing. I hold the principles of the infinite up high. I pray to the dream. Everyone outside stared in awe at the immense power Issei was putting out, and they saw he was engulfed in a red light. I am the heavenly dragon of domination, and I will show you the way to crimson heaven. Heavenly dragon angelic overdrive, roared out Didrag. The light died down and Kokubeel started shaking in fear. Issei stood there. His armor was different. He had minimal armor around his legs. He had 2 gauntlets around his hands but were smaller than the regular sized gauntlet. The armor around his torso was gone except for a slim chest plate with a green gem in the middle and red shoulder pads. Think of Sirzek's armor except red. His helmet was gone. Replace armor on both sides of his head. His eyes were glowing green. All his wings turned from black to crimson, and he had 2 halos on top of his head intertwined in AX shape. Outside, everyone stared in awe at what they were seeing. That everyone is the angelic overdrive in that form. Issei can go toe-to-toe with me in dragon form, said Great Red. Everyone just looked at the battle that was about to unfold. Inside, Issei looked at his gauntlets and back at Kokubeel. It's been a while since I've gone into this form, but I wanted to show you what true fear looks like before you died, said Issei. Kokubeel started to back up in fear. What the hell are you? He yelled. I am Issei Hyodo, and I am the ultimate dragon of domination, said Issei as he flew to Kokubeel at blinding speeds and kicked him to the ground below. Before he could get up, Issei flew down to Kokubeel, grabbed onto 2 of his wings and started pulling. The air was filled with Kokubeel's screams of pain as Issei tore off all his wings 2 at a time. Issei picked him up by the neck as blood spurted out of his back. I've waited a long time for this. Any last words? Asked Issei. Just kill me, said Kokubeel. As you wish, said Issei as he crushed Kokubeel's neck so hard he decapitated him and threw his head next to the body. Ka-san, Tu-san, I've avenged you, said Issei as he looked up to the sky. Might as well meet the White One, thought Issei as he snapped his fingers and the barrier broke. When the barrier broke, a bright blue light came down in the ground. Is there a reason you're here, White One? Asked Issei. 2 reasons actually. 1, Azazel tasked me with coming to collect Kokubeel's body, and 2, I wanted to see what my rival could do. As you know, we are destined to fight, said the White One. Forget it, Valley, if you fight him you will not survive, said the voice known as Albion. Issei Hyodo, we will meet again, said Valley as he picked up the body and teleported away. With that, Issei powered down, turned around and saw Seraphal running towards him and tackling him to the floor. Issei, my love, I'm glad you're okay, she said. Yeah babe, I'm fine, but could you let me up please? He asked. She let him up to see everyone coming. Oh, before I forget, your siblings saw the battle but they left already. They told me to tell you that they'll be seeing you soon, she said. Issei nodded as he looked towards Sirzek. Sirzek, it's nice to officially meet you. And Grafia, it's nice to see you again, said Issei. Grafia nodded and Sirzek spoke. You as well, Issei Hyodo, replied Sirzek as he shook his hand. Please, just Issei is fine. While I'm sure we have a lot to talk about, let's pick this up in a few days at the clubhouse. I need to get the church duo home. They learned something that they shouldn't have today and we need time to recover, said Issei. Sirzek only nodded as he vaguely knew what he was referring to. Asia, let's get these 2 home. You're coming too, right, Seraphal? Asked Issei. Of course, darling, she replied. With that, they grabbed the church duo and teleported to Issei's house to recover from the events that just took place. That's it, guys. Thank you for watching. And support the author as well for making this story.